Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Pastime Thinker Podcast. I'm your host, Frederick Piquette. I'm with my co-host, Jacob.
What's up, boys?
And today our guest is Bert.
Hello.
So Bert, you're a gypsy.
I am a gypsy, and to start off, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Friday the 13th. Also, harvest full moon.
Yeah, time of recording.
First one since 2000, won't be another one until 2049. So.
Really? I didn't know that. What's the significance of the full harvest moon?
Well, for me, I just reference it to the fact that it's the end of the year and we're going into fall time, so a lot of people harvest their gardens.
Isn't Harvest Moon a video game?
I think it is. Yeah. It's the name of a video.
That's why it holds near and dear to my heart because I used to game the shit out of that when I was 12.
Respect Mother Nature for finally giving that video game a shout out.
Mm-hmm.
God. So yeah, how would, like, for someone who doesn't know what a gypsy is, like, how would you try to sell the gypsy lifestyle onto someone else?
Wild and free.
Wild and free?
Wild and free. Not bound by society.
Not bound by society.
Yeah.
More or less, never be afraid to wander from the beaten path, because everywhere you go that you don't look to go, you end up being able to learn something.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have if you just had
like life experience.
Yeah. Like when I go out, when I leave my home, I never walk the same path twice.
What if there's
That's
only
not
one
true. I
way?
drive you to work.
You drive me to work. That's a vehicle.
That's true. You do walk the path
I
to my
walk.
car.
You guys see me leave this place all the time. I never walk the same one.
Huh.
But that's also because I'm not from around here, and I've always.
And he's actually lost as soon as he walks out the front door.
I love it.
You don't have Google Maps.
Yeah.
Oh. So when did you start, like, considering yourself a gypsy? Like, when do you think you're
Like 14.
14?
Holy shit, that's young.
So
Yeah.
what does a 14-year-old gypsy do? Like,
Well, for me, I just did hood rat shit.
I was
with my
about
friends.
to say hood rat shit.
And I was never home.
Bert's
and I was
fucking.
always
That's almost your logo, like your motto.
Yeah, hood rat shit.
What are you doing today?
I'm doing
hood rat shit.
with my friends.
oh,
No, I mean, like, I just, for some reason, I had an obsession with getting into trouble, and in order to get into trouble, you have to wander away from the beaten path. So for me, I didn't necessarily start off in a good way, but it made me a lot of friends that aren't really my friends, but they're people that I'm going to remember for a lifetime.
people whom you can draw experiences from.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of set me up to just be hungry for more. And for me, I wasn't really interested in school, unfortunately. And, like, I came from a small town, so I was always out in the forest. Like, for that was a big part of, like, the gypsy lifestyle. Like, I grew up like a pioneer. I didn't have
What were you doing in the forest? Like,
Dude,
were you
I
hunting?
didn't
What were you doing, man?
I didn't have internet.
He's playing
until I was-
manhunt.
Oh,
I
used
used
to
to
play
when I was a
Manhunt.
kid. My parents barred us
Dude,
from using
fuck
the internet. And then when we did, it was like an hour of supervised internet.
My
So you could
mom-
play RuneScape, but like you couldn't type anything because then you talk to strangers online.
Yeah,
like
you know
that was my like
I-
up until I was like 14.
Literally, I'd wake up and my mom would throw me outside, or she'd put me to work. So
Yeah.
Really?
And, like, the wilderness was my backyard. Like, I
Yeah.
lived 45 minutes out of town.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I lived in
the woods.
I lived in a small like fucking military town when I was a kid, and it was the same shit. Very small, like Petawawa. You ever heard of it?
Yeah.
When I was like younger, I lived there for 5 years. It was like the longest next to Barry was the longest I ever lived anywhere. Like before that, it was like a year maybe. Yeah, it was fucking just forest everywhere, man. Like to this day, I would love to go back there because it's fucking sick. Like it's just so much. Like, you buy like a cheap little house, and you have this acre of yard because there's just so much fucking land and nobody lives there. It's sick.
Like, I grew up in, like, a residential area, but, like, I also lived, like, a 5-minute walk from, like, a park. And, like, the park, like, had, like, a decent amount of, like,
Oh,
forest.
I was like 6 houses down from our park.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Like, and, like, yeah, we played manhunt. We did that whole, like, hood rat shit, but, like, I was never more than, like, a 10-minute walk from home.
Yeah, like our park was, like I said, like 6, like maybe up to 10 houses down, but it was like at risk of bears after like 7 o'clock. So, like,
Same. Actually,
yeah.
same.
So it was like you could only go for so long, and then if you're really ballsy when it was late, you go play manhunt, and then like someone had to like.
But
obviously,
like,
there was one bear scare, and we never did it again.
A very similar thing happened to me. We were playing manhunt. It was like boys versus girls.
Yeah.
And me and my friend Dylan, like, almost had a bear fall on our lap. Like,
That's terrifying.
yeah, and like I remember we were like, we were booking it out of the bushes, and like before we can even like process what just happened, the girls were already like, "Oh, we found you!
Dude, that's exactly...
You fucking lose!" And like me and Jalen were like, "No fair, there's a bear. Like we get to go again. Like
this is round 2 right now. Let's go. I'm going back to the same spot." Yeah, that was exactly the same as mine. The kids came running out screaming, and they're like, "Ha, idiots! I know where you are." They're like the fucking bear. So we all just cooked it at Buddy's house. We just sat inside like crying, little like 7-year-old us.
Yeah. So Bert, how would you see your gypsy-ness, like what's
transform over the years?
Yeah, like what's the difference between like a 14-year-old gypsy and like
that
you
was just
now?
Me. I wasn't a gypsy when I was 14. I just like to say that, but I just broke away from doing what I was actually supposed to. Like somebody would tell me something to do, and I do the exact, complete polar opposite because
despite them, or because you just didn't want to.
I just like to do it my own way. Like I didn't think that I needed.
It almost sounds like you're more just like a little shithead.
I was a shithead, but that formed.
But aren't all gypsies?
It formed.
Aren't all gypsies?
It made me not afraid to do what I truly wanted to do, and then so over the years, like. I ended up obviously getting my license, and I traveled lots. Like I've been right across Canada.
That's nice.
A couple times actually.
I've only ever been through Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah.
Like, you're missing out.
Been
You're
right
never
to
to the Rockies
Vancouver.
then, eh?
No.
I haven't been to PEI, but I've put like my hand in the Halifax harbor water, and then in Vancouver.
So you've been coast to coast.
I've been coast to
I've
coast.
literally lived everything but the coast, everything inside of the coast. But I've been to Vancouver.
See, you were more of a gypsy when you were 14 than I was. Like you're on the travel.
Well, my dad was in the military. I don't know how gypsy you could be being a military brat.
Yeah.
It was more like unnecessary, like just constantly moving. My dad changed professions 3 times before he finally settled down.
Yeah.
Like, and that requires a shit ton of moving.
Yeah.
Like you get posted a lot. He was a field medic, so he's always moving. And then he was an air traffic controller, and then he moved to Trenton, which is one of the busiest air traffic controlling spots in Canada. And then from there, he switched to pharmacy. And then he got moved around, I think, only like 3 or 4 more times once he became a pharmacist. And that was it. So like it kind of settled down by the time I got like 10. Like by the time I was, I don't know. Like even up to this day, I probably moved close to 30 times. Like, it's ridiculous. I fucking hated it, and that's why I consider Barrie home. It's because it's the longest I've ever lived in a single place. 8 years. So, and even in Barrie, I moved like a lot. There's 5 of us kids. 1 would move out, we'd have to find a smaller place. Then 2 would move out, and then you have to find a smaller place. Then 1 would come back, you have to find a bigger place. And it was all rented apartments, so it's like you'd always have to get more rooms and less rooms and all this and that. And then this landlord was raising their prices every year, so he had to move because he couldn't afford. Like it's fucking stupid. Like we would constantly move. Like I moved more times in Barrie than in like 5 years as a kid.
Yeah.
Like it's retarded.
So Bert, would you consider like being a gypsy, more of a lifestyle or like a frame of mind?
Lifestyle and a frame of mind, because I've gotten into a lot of sticky situations over the years, being like just following along, doing what I want to do. I ended up, like I said, you meet so many people, and that's where I feel like the gypsy lifestyle is more or less like
interactions.
It's interactions with people. Like I've never been shy to like just strike up a conversation. For some reason, complete strangers feel the need to tell me their life stories sometimes, sitting on park benches while you're just wandering. Like that's what feeds it for me. And then over the years, I've gotten more interested in the fact of like just being diverse in nature, more or less, and that's when I started to learn how to forage. So it's like I don't even have to live like everybody else. Like I could be out in the forest where I really want to be.
Would you be happy there?
I'd be way more happy. My plan was when I turned 18 and I graduated high school, where I grew up, like I said, it was 45 minutes out of the small town, and I just wanted to walk out the back door and just start walking into the forest, because I used to read books like Hatchet and
You read books?
I did read books for a
Nice.
period of time. I only read at a 3rd grade reading level. How I knew that. I got through it.
The cow jumps over.
Yeah, when I'm reading
the
to my
moon.
son, it's real funny. It's like, oh, I gotta actually practice, brush up on my reading.
Yeah. No.
No.
Well, we used to have to read as kids, like a lot. My parents were really into that. I hated it.
I had to teach myself how to read.
You didn't go to school?
Well, I learned to read at a much younger age. I forced myself to learn how to read at a much younger age to spite my mom, because when I was growing up, Yu-Gi-Oh cards were like huge.
Fuck yeah. I remember I stole money from my parents once.
Oh my
and
God.
they cut all of our cards up because we stole money. We stole $20 to get like 3 starter packs or whatever. My
Oh my
parents
God.
found out and cut up our entire like lifelong collection.
So
Like, you steal money from us for this shit, like you don't
Yeah.
get this anymore.
Like,
Like, fuck!
my
Like,
mom-
it was a garbage bag full of Yu-Gi-Oh
oh
cards.
my god.
It was
Like-
so heartbreaking.
My mom is super practical, right? So like when I was a kid, I was like, Mom, I want Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Oh my god, these Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Oh, so and so has Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I want Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And she was just like, Fred, you don't know how to read.
You fucking retard.
You don't know how to read. You need to read to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm not getting you Yu-Gi-Oh cards because you don't
And
know
they
how
have
to
some
read.
really fucked up words on those cards
Yeah.
too. Like, they had some big ass
Fuck
words,
them
I'm
with
pretty sure. Like, they have some really intense shit on those cards to read.
Yeah, and like one day I was at like Walmart or something with my mom, and I saw the Yu-Gi-Oh starter packs, and like I didn't throw a fit, but like I was very nearing the line of throwing a fit, and I was like, I want these fucking Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Buy them from me, bitch.
And my mom's like, I'll buy you one like 6-card pack. Like just like the smallest of small, like just like a random, like at the time probably like $1 pack of cards.
Yeah.
And like, there, Fred, be fucking happy. And like I took them home and like
He made a deck out of 6 cards.
No.
Like, not even a full hand.
It was me. Everybody else was trying to play Pokemon and shit. And I
I was into
stole
that
a couple
too.
of my sisters.
I never
and
got
was
into
like, "Can I
Pokemon."
play?"
But yeah, I came home with these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I just remember sitting there and like just studying them, just analyzing them, just like I put some work into these
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I made sure that I had every word like that's how I learned to fucking read.
That's fun.
Like just like going all out on these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then like once I found like I finally got it, I went to my mom and I gave her the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I was like, show me a card, I'll tell you what it does. And like yeah, I did it, and I was like, oh, that card does this card does that, and like from that point on, like whenever my mom asked me if I wanted a toy, I just asked for Yu-Gi-Oh cards and she got them for
Yeah,
me.
that was like us as kids. It was like we'd always the card game like Bionicles. You know how there's like
Oh.
the different ice, there's brown, there's the brown, there's ice, there's earth, there's the wind, the fucking black one. I don't know what he does, but like it was 5 kids, and for some reason it always ended up being like at least 5 choices, and all of us would pick one, and like that's what we would play. So Magic the Gathering. There's air, was it air, wind, there's fire, like element, water, earth, shit like that, and we'd all pick our own, and like we would build our decks around it. So you buy a starter pack. There was 3 fucking swamp or whatever the fuck it is, like dark cards,
And you'd have
and
to
I'd
give.
take the dark cards, and then my
Oh.
brother would take the one air, and then the other brother would take the fire one. Like we'd all
So what
have
happens
our
if you
own
like
belts
opened up a pack and there's just
specifically
like
built around these colors, like
Oh
because
my
there's
God.
5 kids. To have 5
Yeah.
kids is a lot of money to buy all of them their own shit.
What happens if you open a card pack and like, oh, there's no dark cards in this pack?
And you just wouldn't get any new cards.
Sorry, Jacob.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like we were we were like that into Magic the Gathering. Like you were into fucking those fire cards, like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like you were into Yu-Gi-Oh, we were into fucking
See,
Magic. Like
I
we studied the shit out of it.
I was super into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I don't know if you guys would remember this because I know you're a little bit older than me, Jacob.
Dude, I played
But,
with rocks, man.
But
Like, this is like all new shit to me. I'm just like, whoa.
oh, they're just card games. But did you ever play Chaotic?
No.
I was for like maybe like the first year Chaotic was a thing. I played Chaotic. It's very much like Magic the Gathering. But
It's not as good.
no, absolutely not. They had a whole TV show based around it. The TV show was pretty cool, but
Sounds gay.
yeah, pretty. Yeah.
Again,
just
I
shut
played
that
with
fucking
rocks.
sentence down. Just shut it right now,
Well,
Fred.
tell me about different types of rocks there, Bert. What were your favorite kinds to play with?
Well, I'm more of a
There
quartz
were
guy
round
myself.
ones, and then
Dude,
there
we
were
could have a
jagged.
full-out hour conversation about rocks. So don't get me started. Like I said, I was different than the other kids.
Mhm.
Like I was
What
just,
made you want to? I have a question. What made you want to be a gypsy?
dude, it was actually like how I got.
Is
to
it like
Sudbury.
yeah? Did you like
It just
Re-
naturally happened, and you're like,
I
well, fuck it.
was
I'm in
in a-
this. I'm in it for life.
I was 18 and my mom, I was gonna drop out of high school because I just wanted to do other things at that point in time, and I wasn't going to school, and she was like, if you graduate, you can do anything that you want. And I'm like, cool, I can do this. So I managed to graduate. Summer turned to fall, fall turned to winter, and
Aren't those song lyrics?
well, probably sounds good. I'm putting it in one.
Yeah.
No, and then I ended up waking up on a Greyhound bus on the way to this lovely location, Sudbury,
oh my
and like I woke up, and I didn't know how I got on the bus, and I had a backpack full of items, and I wasn't sure exactly where I was located at this moment.
I think it's safe to say you were on a binger before this.
I was
Yeah.
on a binger. For
Yeah,
like,
okay.
It's like, is that the gypsy lifestyle, or is that just bad life decisions?
That was bad life decisions, and then like I was just hanging out with my friends, and they didn't really tell me it was a bad idea, I guess. And next thing you know, I'm just on my way here, and I had like $30 of like really old money that I stole from my mom, and like I had a pack of Next Blue Kings, and basically like my hitter box, a skateboard, winter clothes, and like 7 chain.
And like
I
you still.
watched you sell that skateboard actually.
Yeah.
When I
And-
first moved in, it was you
Yeah,
fucking making a Kijiji deal for selling your skateboard.
I have 0 possessions. I still have the same amount of stuff that I came here with.
And you're still like set, like you're still content.
Oh yeah, I got
Like
my plants. I
that's
got some new
wild.
plants yesterday. Shout out to my geraniums.
Like
Thinking of you.
Thinking of it?
Like from the moment I graduated high school, like I've always had like a 2 to 3 year plan of where I want to be, and like
No,
I've just been
not me.
escalating.
I've never even. I don't know if
Not
I've
me.
ever had a plan.
That's.
Ever.
Not me. I'm just go with the flow.
But it's not that you don't have a plan; it's that is your plan.
No, I have like a further plan. Like when I had children, like I definitely had to make a plan.
Yeah.
So like that's when things started to change a lot for me and how I was gonna run my life, because like
You
it
can't be
wasn't-
off the map
It
when you have a
wasn't
kid.
so long ago that I felt like I was just a dumb kid, and now all of a sudden I have like so much responsibility.
And now you have a dumb
And
kid.
like I finally have an address everyone.
Now you have a dumb kid, and now you gotta be an adult.
I know. So it's like it's interesting.
Yeah.
So now
I
like,
didn't mean to call you a kid.
I'm like a
I have to
retired
apologize.
gypsy now, more or less, because I know that I have to actually stay put.
You're
Yeah.
very much still that way though.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
at
like
heart.
you're
You still have that way about you. You still have that demeanor. You're just.
like, I remember coming outside one day for a cigarette, and you were going on a fucking foraging trip into the forest to find
yeah,
berries and
that's-
shit.
that's
Like,
what
I was
I
like,
did.
what are you doing
Yesterday
today?
I spent all day
Going to find
outside.
berries in whatever forest I could see. I was
Well,
like,
yeah, I was just
Okay.
in your apartment. Like you have like a bunch of flowers that you picked from the bush out
Yeah, those
in your
were
apartment.
yarrow, chamomile, probably. Probably those two, because that's what would be harvesting right about now.
Yeah.
But those have medical properties to them, right?
Is that what you plan on
you ever
using
thought
them for?
about going back to school to be like a botanist?
Dude, totally. But right now I'm starting back growing my plants, my house plants, and then I hope to get enough this year to open up a very small greenhouse next year,
Nice.
just small.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to talk about plans, I want to build a tiny house. And I want to buy about an acre or 2 of property, and I want to.
Good luck doing that out here.
No, it wouldn't be here. It'd
No.
be elsewhere. But and then I just want to grow my fucking plants.
Just
man,
grow your
and
plants
chill
and-
out and garden and live off the land like I learned how to do. And like my grandparents were pioneers. My mom had 3 kids and she was a single mom, so she worked all the time. So I just chilled out with my grandparents all the time, and they were like fucking 80 years old, and they're still going out picking their berries and stuff like that. We used to chop like
And it's not even
12
like.
cords of firewood every year
Yeah.
'cause to warm their house. They
And
were
it's like we're not
crazy.
doing this for fun. We're doing this
No.
for someone to eat tonight.
They didn't even have power in their house. Like I had no internet or satellite, or like we had dial-up once, but like, it would
Once.
take like 2 hours. Like we were just so far.
2
out in the
hours just to load
boondocks.
AOL.
Like we were so far out that the fuel companies wouldn't haul fuel to heat our furnaces. We used to have to like go and
Go to
purchase-
town?
Yeah, purchase our diesel fuel like in the winter time. Like it was insane. Like I grew up like really
That sounds fucking
hard
miserable.
pioneer lifestyle. Like there was a couple times like our water froze, and we didn't have water,
Well,
and then our heater broke down, and nobody would come and service it because we worked. You go to fucking bed with ski pants on,
Jesus
and
Christ.
that's how.
So
But it made us all who we are today. Like we're super tough. Like
yeah, so that this might be like I know that like a lot. This is topical. Like a lot of people make this comparison. So your son isn't gonna have the same upbringing
No.
that you did, right?
Bert, yeah, I like my upbringing. Made me my son will not live like I lived. That's just out of the question.
No.
But like that's what I mean.
That was
So like,
barbaric.
so but do you think that your son?
But it helped me form me to who I am this day.
Yeah. But that being said, like your son will not have the same upbringing that you did.
No.
So
but
do you think that your son's gonna grow up to be whatever you qualify as a man or an adult? Like, or do you fear for that? Or are you okay with that?
my son can be anything that he fucking wants to be when
Boom.
he grows up?
Yeah.
Fucking schooled, Fred. That's what you get for asking stupid questions.
But what if that's what I mean? But you're not afraid that he might choose to be an asshole?
He's gonna learn the hard way, like I did. that doesn't get you fucking anywhere real quick.
No.
Yeah.
We'll have a talk about that probably. But that sounds like a future Atlas problem.
Yeah, that's true. But like, 'cause
Again, I'm still like living in that moment, you know, because it's crazy having children.
Yeah.
It's amazing
How
and
old is your
beautiful.
kid? A year old?
He's 2 years old.
2 years
He's
old
turning
now.
3.
So you're almost getting to that point where he's got to go to school and like you got to learn about that. Is he the bully? Is he getting bullied?
Well, that's
Like,
what
that's
I mean.
the
We're
thing, and
trying to
it's tough
instinct
either way.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
worlds right now.
what do you think is easier to parent? Knowing that your son is being bullied, or knowing that your son is the bully?
Neither, because
I
neither
think
is
it's
okay.
equally hard both ways, but I also think that kids that are bullies have parents that are assholes.
Yeah.
You raise the child.
See,
I don't know,
My
I'm
son
a
right now,
bully.
he'll come and he'll tee off on me,
Like-
but he doesn't know any better yet. And like, it's our job to teach him.
It's called terrible twos.
It's the terrible twos. I hate that because it's so.
Well, yeah,
fucking
because kids don't have any
stereotypical,
empathy
but
or sympathy. It's
That's-
just the sheer
that's
fact that he doesn't
cutthroat.
understand.
You
but,
gotta
like-
have thick skin to be a parent. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
Real
fucked.
thick skin. When you're
Oh,
not, you're their
I would
friend,
assume we've
but
all-
you're the
I have
parent.
thick skin, but I have zero patience.
Yeah, because like I would
Especially for
assume.
stupid shit.
Yeah.
Kids do stupid shit all the time. Like I would be so
Yeah,
just tired of it.
Well,
so
like-
quickly.
we all have to like come to grips that like all three of us here have, in one way or another, like fucked over our parents. Or
Oh, dude, I gave my mom a run for the hills.
yeah,
Jesus.
and like, yeah, I assume you need to have like a lot of forgiveness and like a lot of love to be a parent.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I feel like I'm 22, right? My son's 3 years old, so do the math. You know,
Yeah.
You
It
were just a
wasn't-
little baby.
I was just a baby, and I'm having babies. You know. And,
Well, I mean, like I,
oh,
but like I understand being raised in that because when my mom was your age, I was already like 5.
yeah,
Like my mom had me super young as well.
that's like it totally changes the ball game because you're still in a specific part in your thinking process that doesn't stop you from actually having a good time while you're parenting. Like I think there is a big difference from being a young parent and an old parent.
Well, yeah, there's like my mom put it in an interesting point, like having kids young versus having kids old. It's like you have your kids young and then you can enjoy your life when you're old enough to appreciate it, or you can go through those formative years and like have all those stories to draw back on when you're an older parent.
That's the difference. Like when you're an old parent, you're basing your parenting off of knowledge and wisdom from
Yeah.
being an elder. Well, you're not that old, but like,
It's-
like it happens.
I'm pretty
I
sure
guess,
your
but-
life just cuts you off at some point.
Yeah, but like that's the thing, because like in my mother's case, by the time she's 50, she'll already have 3 kids who have gone through college.
Oh yeah.
And she'll literally have no kids in the house. She will have done the whole parenting thing. She would have done the whole raising thing.
The whole thing, the parenting thing doesn't stop.
I understand that.
That is like
goes on,
even
yeah.
after like my dad lives just in the next town over. Like he's
Still your dad.
he's got to deal with my bullshit all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but-
My dad told me that too. He's like, even though you signed yourself as an independent when you're 18, you're still my son. Like I'm still bailing your ass out.
like, you're
And it's
still
like-
my headache.
Yeah.
I
This
understand.
long now,
It never
22
changes.
years later, you're still pissing me off.
I understand that, but like parenting a child is a lot different
Oh,
than
it's
parenting
totally
an
different.
adult, right?
It's
like
complete
you have to
game
like
changer.
let go of a lot of the reins once your kid reaches a certain age. And you have to let them be an
Well,
adult.
I'm at that stage right now.
And then like even as a kid,
already.
like when you're a child and you grow up, like there comes a certain point where even you have to realize that like your parents are just people.
I'm trying to parent Atlas with like a free range sort of sense, in the sense that the only way that you're going to learn, just like I've learned everything, because I did not pay attention when it came time to like learn things. So that's why it freaked me out to have children, because it's like, man, like, am I adequate for this job? And you have to be adequate for the job. So that's when I started developing my skills and like thinking about a career and like settling down, because like my motto is children add 10 years to your life right there. Like just like what goes on, it's quite spectacular. So now I'm like, okay, Atlas, like when we go out and we hang out in the park, it's like, yeah, give her, like, explore, pick up pine cones. Like, he loves his pine cones, he loves his rocks, and for me, I'm just digging it. Like, I just follow around behind him 4 feet. If he's going into something that he shouldn't, I don't run up to him and say, no, like, don't do that, you know? Like, I pick him up, and I say, that's probably not a good idea, and then I bring him back.
Do you tell him why though? Like, are you one of those parents
Absolutely.
that just like no because dad said so, or
No, I'm
no
My mom
because
did
well you
that-
see?
My mom did that all the time. I was like, no, you can't do that. I was like, why?
Yeah,
like,
and that's
I
what
said
made
so,
me
and it made me
want to
do
do
it
everything.
later.
Yeah, that's literally what made me want to do everything.
Why do you think I smoked so much fucking weed as a kid? My mom always said no, but never gave me a reason. So like, fuck this
I
bitch,
never
I'm
had
trying
like
it.
a drug talk with my parents. Like,
No?
my dad is a very
My parents are forced into it.
Oh, my dad is a very avid weed smoker. He's very much, it's good for you. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. And when we were growing up, he's like, yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with it, but like, you still need to make sure that like it's not laced with anything. You need to make sure that like you're doing it in good company. You need to make sure that you're safe while doing it. And like my mom, she just never ended up having to talk about it with me. So like I was always raised just like thinking like it's a thing. Like I never had like a positive or like a negative thought towards it. It was just like, yeah, weed's a thing. It exists.
Yeah.
I very much, I know a lot of people vary in this, but like I very much hold pot like in the same standard as I hold alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I always have, even long before it was legalized here in Canada, like, and that's the thing. In like the 8 years, like of like 8 years of non-stop smoking. Like I got into it young, like 14.
Really?
And then once I started, I never stopped, and I started getting faster, more and more and more faster, kind of thing.
Like,
and in those 8 years of like non-stop, like all day, morning till night smoking, basically without breaks for 8 years, it like.
I don't even think
One time I've had like, I'm pretty sure it's laced weed, and even now I'm not even sure it's laced weed or if it was like it's just a bad trip.
like yeah.
Like,
Like
it was,
I didn't even smoke weed for the first time until I was about 17 or 18. And then I never even started regularly smoking weed until I was in college. And like after doing it in college, I kind of got like I don't really smoke weed now. Like maybe once.
you do edibles to go to bed.
I do edibles to go to bed, yeah, but like
But not eating it, bro. I mean,
well, like it's a sleeping aid for me. Like I take THC oil. It's not even like, oh, I'm gonna eat
You're
this.
22. Why do you need a sleeping aid for?
Because I have problems sleeping, man. Like insomnia runs on my dad's side of the family. Like I have.
insomnia runs in society.
It does.
Fucking
Like,
society, dude.
Well, like before I'm like before I started taking THC to help myself go to bed, like I had a trazodone prescription to help me sleep.
Oh, so you actually had a problem sleeping?
Yeah, like I'd go through bouts where I'd go through about like 2 or 3 days without sleeping, and then I'd sleep for a full day, and then I'd go through like 3 or 4 days without sleeping, or I'd go like a month going on like 1 or 2 hours of sleep a month, or a day a month. But like, yeah, no, I had a prescription for sleeping, and like now I just take THC oil there. It mellows me out. I fall asleep. But like I don't really like smoke weed recreationally for like a good time, like anymore. I did it a lot when I was in college, but I kind of drifted away from it, and it took me forever to get into it in the first place. So I'm very indifferent about weed.
That's why I started smoking weed. Like, it's like one and done. I was fucking hooked right away. Like not hooked,
Really?
but like I was in love with it. Like I loved the feeling. I loved the conversations that happened. I loved the experience. Like,
oh yeah,
I used to smoke weed. Like my cousins. Sorry to throw you guys under the bus there. The first person I ever smoked with was my cousins when I was like 13 years old. And they had their 2-foot bong.
Jesus
They'd already been
Christ.
smoking for a little bit, and this is like I'm talking like this is over 10 years ago. Like I was 13, I'm 24 now, so this is 11 years ago. And I smoked weed with them for the first time, and then it basically became I would go over to their house as often as possible every weekend and sleep over. They live on a farm too, so you gotta remember that I had to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go help them milk cows and do the chores on the farm. Like it was fucking miserable the day after, but it was so worth it to me to go the night before and just get fucking stoned out of my mind and like just have the greatest time of my life.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
I've
go
never
work.
had like positive experiences smoking weed.
I've like it. I'd say 98% of my time smoking weed was just good times.
Like the first time I ever smoked weed,
I still smoke pot.
Yeah, yeah, you do.
You're a little bit of a stoner there.
Yeah, but yeah, the first time I ever smoked weed, like I got into like an hour-long conversation with the people I was with, purely about the concept of time.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I got to tell you about the first time I smoked weed. It was fucking great.
Juicy.
Yeah. Okay. So I was with my cousins. Obviously, the first time I smoked weed. 13. I think I don't even know. I think it was the summer before grade 9. So I was like just graduated grade 8. I think it was
So you're
8.
like an adult.
Yeah, I was basically a big boy now. Like I got off my my diapers are gone. Like mommy couldn't say no to me sleeping over no more.
Got my very first Facebook account.
Yeah, no, I actually didn't yet. I didn't have Facebook yet. My
Oh,
mom
really?
would still not let me have it. I'm telling you, I couldn't play RuneScape alone until I was 14.
Dude, I
It's
played.
like I was smoking weed before I could play like the most fucking vanilla video game in the world online.
Oh my god.
But I was with my cousins, and you know how people go, "Oh, the first time you smoke weed, you don't get high."
That is a
That's
lie.
I got
Bullshit.
fucking baked.
That
Like
is
I
a
smoked
lie.
like 3 bowls out of this bong, and it was like they were even to this day when I smoked a shit ton for 8 years. Like, those are
I don't
3
even.
decent bowls to my face. Got baked.
I don't even understand that concept of you don't get high your first time. Like your tolerance couldn't be smaller.
Yeah, I know, right? And
Like-
but it's like I don't know. I think it's because people the first time they do it, they're very scared and timid, so they only do a little bit. And if you smoke a little bit of weed, like you will feel it, but you don't realize you're feeling it until like you've already smoked weed and you know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So the first time you smoke weed, you hit one hit of a pipe, and you're like, "Ooh,
That's
I'm
not
dying."
true.
Oh, I
That's a
coughed my
one-hit
lungs out.
wonder.
Like the first time I smoked weed was out of a parachute bong. So that's what.
That's why you got fucked.
Yeah. That's when you
You
take
had
like.
0 effort and all the high.
Yeah. You.
I smoked out of a 2-footer. Like
Yeah.
I had to fucking
How'd you-
heave on that shit.
You made a lung, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lung.
Those
It's
are dope.
it's when you
What's
take
that?
a water bottle, you cut the
Cut it in
bottom
half,
You
put it
put
in
a
a
bread
jug
bag.
of- I know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
No, that's an inversion.
That's a gravity bong.
Gravity bong.
No, the
Water
lung
bong.
is when you take a bottle, you cut it in half, you put a paper bag on the bottom half of
Right.
it, so and then you get it sealed airtight or like a Ziploc bag or something, and then you turn the top part of the bottle into like a bowl, and then you light the weed, and then you pull on the paper bag, and
You
it
basically just melt the cap and shove the bowl through it.
yeah,
Burn the bowl, pull the paper bag, and now you have an entire like a 2-liter bottle of water full of pre-smoked weed. Like it's
Yeah.
not, it's clean.
and you just
You
inhale it.
Inhale that shit, and
Yeah.
you get fucked.
And like I thought that was the norm because the person was like, "Yeah, here we're smoking weed. This is what we have.
Here's a
Take a
line."
hit, Fred." I'm like, "Oh, I guess this is how you smoke the weed."
Can I have a cannabis?
Can I,
a weird
can
machine?
I take a shot of the marijuana, please?
What about you, Bert? Do you remember the first time you ever smoked weed?
Dude, I was a one-hit wonder, and it
Were
was
you?
way out in the boonies, and I just threw up a lot.
Really?
Really?
Dude, I
only
couldn't,
started.
like, people used to get me high just to laugh at me, so it's
I-
kind of interesting that over years, like, I actually picked up, like, a regular use of it, because, like, it was never a good time for me. And, like, my mom used to steal my pipes all the time, so then I'd
Steal
have
them or like take them away?
to do what?
She would steal them and use them.
Confiscated.
She would give them back after a preset time.
Confiscated. So
Oh.
I'd always have to make these stupid ring-a-ding, like, smoking utensils.
Oh my god.
So, like, I don't know.
Did you ever do the pop can with the
Fuck
holes
yeah,
in
I
it?
was real hood rat.
Oh yeah,
I've done
dude,
that a
I
couple
made
times.
all kinds of bongs. I used to be like they used to call me the MacGyver. Like back in the day, I was like the MacGyver of apparatuses, like smoking apparatus. Like if you had 3 things, like you had a water bottle and like a fucking 3/16
And a
inch
spoon.
fucking socket set and a pen, I
Word.
could make you a bong.
Word.
That was
Nice.
all I needed. Like shit like that. Like it was like I made shit out of everything. Pop cans, water bottles. We used a bucket. Yeah, like the same as you're saying. A bucket with a fucking half cut 2-liter. Well, we didn't even cut the bottom. We cut out the fucking, you know, like the little feet on a 2-liter bottle. We'd only cut the bottom of that off, so you get the whole bottle. And we'd use that for a gravity bong. Like we went
Crazy.
fucking ham in the paint. Like it was retarded. Like I only started whiting out though, like after years of smoking, and I got into poppers. Poppers are what made me.
I've
start
only
peeping.
ever like had a bad experience with pot when on edibles.
I just realized this
Yeah.
turned into like a giant weed talk.
Weed
Yeah,
dog,
it did.
dude.
It-
So much
We can
to
talk
get-
more about
For-
the gypsy lifestyle if you'd like, Bert.
for anybody listening, we already recorded this, but the audio sounds terrible.
We call that
We're-
the lost episode.
The lost episode, if you will. It sounds like we're all talking through little tubes, and by the end of the tube, it's all came out like electronic auto tune. Like it sounds fucked.
So this is our second interview with
And
Bert.
these are totally different fucking podcasts. Like they're so
Must feel like
different.
now
And
you
this
need to post
conversation,
that
I'm kind of enjoying this because like I have a shit ton of weed stories.
But there is like another topic that we already spoke with you about that I'd like to hit on again, and that's the whole religious angle on being a gypsy.
Not a religion, bro.
No, but like
Lifestyle.
gypsies and
Religion is control. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not talking about the
Anybody
religion
that wants
of being
religion,
a
that's
gypsy.
cool.
I mean like the relationship between gypsies and religion.
Oh, that goes way back, dude. You want a history lesson?
Yeah,
Do you relate heavily to Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
those
I want to
guys-
be a big ass thug one day. Don't you worry. I'm gonna own me some docks. I'm gonna start selling guns.
But yeah, like I meant like the palm reading and the tarot cards and
Oh yeah,
fortune
no, that
telling.
came up like way like that came up like after I had children because like I just stopped getting into trouble obviously.
So you started
because-
doing more research.
Yeah, like I stopped wandering and I started being like, now I actually like want to learn something, and I just found like a huge interest in it.
Yeah.
And the Google.
The Google.
There's a beautiful thing there, right? Like you have power of like any question at your fingertips.
Well, what's your favorite means of like fortune telling? Like, do you,
I love palm reading because
palm reading.
it's fun with your friends and stuff. Like they
Well, it's a
already
fun
know,
little
but
party trick.
It's
like,
so much cooler to do it with somebody that you don't know.
yeah, like you've read my palm before.
Oh yeah,
And
I've
like,
read like actually now like pretty much half the work people there that they've made their way. They wandered over to my bandwagon there.
yeah.
Asked about their palm, their fortune, and then for me that's like I want to do more. Like I wish I didn't have to go to work. I wish I could literally build a bandwagon and ride around and just ask people if I could read their palm and shit, and like read their tea leaves and do tarot cards. Like I don't know, it's fun.
Yeah.
Some people get spooked by it, but
Have you ever had any scary experiences?
Many, and I had one last night and it was really scary. Actually.
What happened last night?
Well, nothing. I was just like talking about stuff, like. But I mean, it doesn't really need to be talked about. I was just talking about things that maybe I should have kept to myself about, like some of my learnings, and then all of a sudden I walked outside, and last night was the beginning of the full moon. Anyway, I was probably just tripping on it, but I just heard like bang, 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 and I was just like,
What the fuck are you talking about? You did that?
No, I didn't do that. I was talking about like spirits and like the idea.
So you just heard a random bang?
a whole bunch of like random banging, no sounds. Like it was
That,
just,
that,
like,
sorry, that was me and Victoria.
was that?
We got no.
It freaked me out. Like,
real freaky
and
last
that's when I
night.
actually like I pussied out. I definitely like ran up the stairs and I fucking locked my door. I was like, what the fuck?
That was like the other day. We
that?
just watched It Chapter 1 again, and I went up for a cigarette, and I literally chucked it halfway through because I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm fucking outside in the
That's
dark.
a
I'm like,
big
fuck
ass
this shit. I'm
backyard.
going home.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
Yeah, fuck. It was freaky. It was kind of weird.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, you were walking downstairs and you're going,
Well,
where are you going?
Dude, I was just outside. Like, I was just sitting outside. And I just
time of
finished
the
having
day
a
was this?
conversation like this.
To who?
Tommy and Jake.
Oh, okay. Our neighbors there, sorry.
Homies.
The homies, yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out Tommy and Jade. Love you.
No, like, I was just talking about, like, the fact that, like, I cut grass in cemeteries. And
That's
stuff.
true, actually.
And they're
yeah.
like, that brings a lot of bad juju, you know? Like,
That's true.
in reality.
Yeah.
And, like, especially because I actually follow this lifestyle. Like, I'm
Yeah.
getting information on it. Like, I read people's palms
Yeah.
and shit. Like, weird shit happens to me all the time. Like, I'll be cutting grass, man. And I'll look up, and I think I'll see somebody. And it wigs me right out.
Yeah.
I'll hear my name being whispered and stuff. Like, it probably just comes with the fact that sometimes you spend 8 hours in the same graveyard by
Yeah.
yourself just trimming tombstones.
Yeah.
Like,
So we all,
weird.
if you don't know, we all three of us work together. We're all landscapers, and Bert is on the graveyard crew. I am on the commercial crew, so like apartment buildings and like Walmart kind of thing, and then Fred here is on residential, so he cuts houses.
Yeah.
But every once in a while we all intermingle and like cut each other's shit because like one's running behind, one's ahead of schedule,
Yeah.
etc., etc. But yes, in graveyards, the amount of times I'll be trimming
weird
tombstones,
shit
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
both headphones in, and I'll feel thumping.
Fuck yeah.
I'll feel thumping under my
Dude, I get
feet, and it
shivers
freaks
even
me the
just
fuck
talking
out.
about this
So I look up, I'm like, who the hell's fucking with me? Like, someone has to be stomping the ground
we're
right behind me.
after it, dude.
No one for a
Big
fucking
one.
mile. I'm like, who the fuck? And it's very clear, like,
We're very
underneath your
disrespectful in
feet.
those graveyards.
Something
just
that
doing
happens-
what we're
yeah,
doing.
it kind of freaks me out.
It
I'm
brings
not big.
bad
I'm
juju,
not big on
I'm
like
telling you.
ghosts and shit like that. But like
Dude,
that
sometimes,
freaks
man,
me the fuck out.
It's
Something that
just a
like
fact.
gets me a lot, especially when I'm cutting in the graveyards, is I'll like do a double take, and I swear to God, I see like the names of people that I
Fuck
care
yeah.
about on the tombstones.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah,
I'll do a
that
double
happens,
take,
dude.
and it won't be their
Dude,
name.
gives me shivers.
Is it just me though? When you're doing graveyards, is that you start thinking about death a lot, and you're like, what? Like, I'm making so many stupid decisions. Like, I should
Yeah.
I should be like making so
Yeah,
much better
oh,
decisions, and I
obviously.
know I should be, and they're very easy to change.
And
But
it's-
like, fuck that, I don't
I,
want
I
to.
only get like that when I see a tombstone. Like, oh, this person died at 16.
What?
Or, like,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, dude, I was just trimming the baby.
Yeah,
The
that
baby
freaks
tombstones,
me
man,
out
that
too,
breaks
yeah.
my fucking heart. There's some that is like the same year
Dude.
they were born, they died. I'm just like, oh,
Dude, you know what I
no.
do when I'm trimming the baby section because it actually like makes
Do you-
me so.
do you
I sing
cry?
a lullaby. I literally sing a lullaby in my head the entire
honestly,
time I'm trimming.
I listen to music 24/7 at work because you just put your headphones in and you just go to work.
have to.
I crank my volume and I sing along to my music because like I just need to stop paying attention to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because like it's
it's
so
hard.
bad. Like graveyards is the most depressing shit in the world.
Yeah,
Man.
it is, man. Like,
Like,
it's
commercials
weird. For
fuck
my
off.
lifestyle that I'm living, like it makes me really question myself when I'm in these graveyards for so long. But it's like at the same time I see like these graves that nobody's visited.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude.
And it's just real hard on my heart. But at the same time, I think graveyards are a sense of like control because people they want you to like sit there and grieve and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, unfortunately, it's a sad reality that once they're gone, they're gonna get reborn. I think people.
I was just about to ask that. What do you think happens to you when you die?
I'm a full believer in you've been reborn. I was able to
Reincarnation.
Yeah, I was. I had the privilege of doing past life regression quite a few times and learned how to do it.
Yeah.
But
Like, it was. I don't know what it was. Like, I fucking hate graveyards. I hate doing it. It just makes me regret all these stupid decisions I do. And all the stupid shit I do.
Well, that's the thing, man. And even, like, I like it when you're sitting there being petty.
Yeah.
About, like, shit that's
Honestly,
going on in your day-to-day life.
I've
All of a
actually
sudden
had
you
conversations.
stop.
I've had arguments with Victoria, and because I spent an entire day cutting the same fucking graveyard, just looking at tombstones, all these dead people, makes me think about shit. And, like, in a few years, like, what am I going to do? Like, if I die tomorrow, I'm going to feel like an idiot if this is the last conversation I have with her.
That's why
actually,
it's
that.
so
Well, and like
hard on
you hear that a lot too when someone does die. Like that's their spouses or someone's like biggest regret. Like, oh, we didn't say I love you before they left the house, or
That's why I always try to like, be a good person to everybody, and that's also part of the gypsy lifestyle. Is like do no harm that you wouldn't want done to yourself, in a sense.
Yeah.
The golden rule of religion.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, we got into this the other podcast.
We got into a huge rant about this.
Yeah, we did. The golden rule of religion.
I don't
Do unto
remember.
others as you haven't done to yourself, and that's like in every single religion. But remember, you said gypsies. Being a gypsy is nothing like religion.
Yeah,
Right
I
there.
know it's
Doing unto others
interesting
as you
because
haven't done to
Well,
yourself.
I think just like any sensible person would at least have that, because that's empathy, right?
it's empathy.
Treat
and
others the way you wanna be
morals,
treated.
though. Like what one person thinks could be completely morally wrong can be perfectly okay in somebody else's book. So like, that's where I stand.
Yeah,
on
like-
the fact of like you just gotta like. It's your job when you're born and you're put on this fucking earth, and it's not really your choice, but you're here anyway, and it's your job to just figure out what the fuck's going on for yourself. Then you definitely, like, you're a one-man band, no matter what. Like, you get friends and stuff like that, but we've all lost friends. We all, everybody's on their own path. So you gotta, instead of worrying, like, what the social norm is to treat people, you just gotta instill your own morals that you learn from your parents and whatever, but, like, you're supposed to take your own create on life.
Yeah.
And so for me, my standpoint is, like, I only treat others the way that, like, I want to be treated, but in the sense that you could talk to 50% of the population is like, wow, Bert, outstanding dude. And you could talk to another 50% of the population and say I'm a fucking terrible person.
Exactly.
And I can tell you that
You
nobody's lying.
Yeah.
Because I treat people accordingly.
Also depends on people's perspectives.
Unfortunately.
Have you ever seen those photos, like those, what do you want to call them? Illustrations of like perspectives, where it's like a cop chasing, like some dude or a cop chasing a guy, in like fun, just smiling, and then the next photo is the Billy Bat on the back, like showing, like, so it's like a full photo is like this cop with a smile on his face, he's chasing a guy, and they're both having fun, like they're just joking around, and then like the next photo is like it cropped out the outside. Next thing you see is a Billy Bat in the back of a guy's head.
Yeah.
Like shit like that, and it's just like it all depends on perspective. Like what you personally see is what you believe.
Yeah. True.
And that's like another thing too, because I was very religious. Like I went to church on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays when I was a child.
Just went on
You're one of
Sundays.
those kids.
Yeah, no, like
I was an altar
The
boy.
following.
I was an altar boy. I went to church on Sundays. That was all I did.
How was the pastor after
No,
hours?
Shots fired.
I will
Fucking
defend
altar
this.
boy over
I will
here.
defend this
If there's
man.
a heaven.
I
I'm
love
just-
the priest of my church,
I'm
Father Patrick Lemieux.
It's
He-
just such low hanging fruit. I have
It
to.
is.
Go for
It
Religious
is. You
people.
say I used to be an altar boy, and like literally everyone's like, oh shit, he's got some baggage.
Somebody touched his pee pee when he was born.
No, I honest to God, like, the priest of the church I went to is one of the reasons why I wanted to be more involved.
Like when I quit religion. I drifted away from religion, but I still, long after I quit going to the church, because my dad was out of the picture, and my mom thought I needed like a manly influence. And like my old pastor, who knew I was out of religion, was like our go-to. Like me and him used to go for coffees and shit. Like I used to go to his office.
Oh yeah, we used to go
like,
to Father Pat's house for like barbecues and
yeah,
stuff.
no, I never did shit like that. Like I babysat his kids once until he found out I was a huge stoner, and then he didn't ask me to babysit again.
But because Jesus never smoked weed. You don't think Jesus ever smoked weed?
Jesus smoked weed.
No, but like at the same time, I get it. I wouldn't ask a stoner to babysit my kids, which is fair. But like I was a good kid, and like the only thing I took away from religion was the golden rule, like that kind of shit. And it was like I don't believe that this is the right. There's a lot of different options. Like it's not even like it's the majority religion. Like it's like Christianity's big as fuck, but it's definitely not the largest religion in the world.
I
So
would
what are you
say
saying?
it's
Like,
one of the largest religions.
No, witchcraft
No.
is getting up there.
fuck off.
No, it's not.
Sorry. It is, though.
Oh.
I'm just throwing
So there's
it
like
out.
what? There's Buddhism, Sikhism, Islam. Shit like there's countries like India. What is Indian? Muslim? I forget the religion specifically, but there's literally one country with a devout religion,
Everybody
and that's
has
larger
something
than
else
all
to
of
believe in.
Western civilization.
I don't think so. I feel like Christianity or like Catholicism in general is the largest religious group on the earth. I'm pretty sure.
I'd fight that. I would argue with that.
There's a study that went back to like when basically like the Mayans and stuff were building their first civilizations, and one of the rules of like control, like having control of the population,
Inserting religion.
Yeah.
or giving them something said to believe in, because
Well, that's the only way that you
it's
can.
one of the things that we need in life is something to believe in.
Well,
and
that's what
why
happens
there's
when you
so
get-
much shit you can do in this world
I've
now.
also heard this too. It was I forget what, it was a professor of like theology or something. It was like the only way to control mass groups of people is either have a common enemy, or something to believe in that they need to please on a constant basis.
Well, that's what happens when you have, because like again, like going back to like caveman times, like we're only really used to like dealing with like an immediate like 150 people, and that's pushing it a little bit. Like humans aren't meant to be in huge groups, right?
No, that's weird.
So the only way that you can really guide a mass population is to give them something in common.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's why they gave
exactly.
us phones and all. Like
I
they give
actually-
you individuality, but in reality, you don't actually have individuality,
Yeah.
because everything that you see was somebody else's thought. Like even just look around the room, your own room, if you're listening. Everything that you see around you was once a thought, and then you decided to act on that thought or not act on that
I've
thought.
never thought of things like that.
That's why I have zero
Everything-
possessions right now, is
everything
because I don't
ever-
want to act on a thought.
Everything ever was some dude just like
something
this
thought of.
would be interesting, and now look at it. It's like that's the pictures, the art on my wall, I have fucking plaques
Everything,
on my
your
wall, the
plants,
TV, like
Well, it even
TV
goes beyond that, like the
it's-
chair you're sitting on.
and shit like that. That's what I mean. Like the ottoman. Who the fuck thought of an ottoman? It's a giant bench that has storage. Like that's genius.
So
But it
anyway,
probably took forever for someone to
but
think,
then-
oh, I could just box it in and make a storage spot. Like
Plot
you know what I
twist, but then they got you because you went and got their thought instead of being unique and making something for yourself. And so that's where I've always based, like, not doing what everybody else says and doing what you want to do, and you make your own. Because, like, everything that we know as humans, basically up until this point, has just been somebody else's thought.
Yeah.
So how can you believe in one? Like, I never believe in anything but everything, because it's all just thoughts, man. Really, at the end of the day, it's just we're all just thinking people, but we don't actually do, and the ones that do succeed.
I heard actually a really interesting quote, and it was like the first person to ever do anything, the Wright brothers, the worst plane developers in the world, the first people to ever make a plane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like shit like that. It was like the first person to do it will be the worst in history, because they're the first to do it, and they are running off of nothing to go back on. But they're the first to
that's
do
one
it,
of the
and they are
difficulties.
now in history as the first. But the
fathers
issue
of
is
flight.
that ingenuity is now become a thing of the past, basically. Like what? There's like how many fucking iPhones do you think are?
Yeah.
Like they have like the next 10 years of iPhones planned, because there's like they're limiting ingenuity. because they want.
Yeah, they don't want.
Engineering is limited
do
by
cool
income
things.
because people want to sell things.
Yeah.
But they can only sell it at so many like steps because they want income.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's difficult to make something original. Like that's why the Wright brothers were so bad at making planes because they didn't have
You ever see their
these
corkscrew
other guys
design?
who made a plane.
You ever see the corkscrew design?
Yeah, that wasn't the Wright brothers though.
That was the Wright brothers.
No, that was Leonardo da Vinci.
Was it Da Vinci?
Yeah.
I thought it was the Wright brothers. Sorry.
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci, like, I think he made like schematics for like possible flying machines, but he never like went through with any of them.
Yeah, I think he was the first person to make the. What's that one with the guy that's like 3 positions, like arms up, legs spread.
Yeah, the Anatomy of Man.
Yeah, that was the guy that fucking made that. Was
Yeah.
it not?
Yeah, that's also da Vinci.
I don't know a lot about history, but I know very select bits about it, so I can kind of talk about it.
I also have like a very impartial knowledge of many
Yeah,
things.
like we know very little, but we talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys want to join my bandwagon? You fit right in.
yeah. I'm basically.
We're-
I'm already a gypsy, anyways. So
Yeah.
fuck it.
So, do you believe in like psychics?
Yeah, I am a psychic.
You are a psychic.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a psychic?
To me?
Yeah.
Or to like explain it.
Well,
rationally?
if you had to explain it in your own
half
words.
the time you feel fucking crazy because you just think you know something, but then you actually turn out knowing it, and you're like, that's really weird. Like
Fucking told you so.
for me, it's just like weird things. Like I can just predict things. I guess like that sounds
Like small things.
very small things. Like for example, as I was walking last night, I was walking through behind like there's like a trail over by these complexes that are right near where we're staying, and there's a trail that walks through, and for some reason I just had this inner knowing that I was going to see somebody at the dumpster on the opposite side of the fence when I rounded the corner, and sure enough I walked up and there was somebody digging in the dumpster.
Is that being a psychic, or is it just an intuition where it's kind of like
Intuition.
Are they any
often-
different though? Like
there's
having a
often
strong
people-
intuition.
No, it's
But
your
intuition
that
is
makes
more
you
of like
psychic.
your previous
Anybody can be a
history.
psychic.
Well, no, but like anybody can be a psychic. In my opinion, I'm a very big naysayer.
It's statistics.
In my opinion, psychics are people who are just there to make money off of grieving
See, I don't
or
make money
sad or
off
sore
of it.
people.
That's
what
like the Long Island medium.
Yeah, no,
yes,
that's different.
exactly. Like
That's
she,
totally
her
different.
sole existence, her sole reason existing
That's a different
is to
kind of
please
psychic.
people and make money off of.
Yeah.
That's not even a psychic. That's a medium.
And then there's,
is
but
what
then
you
there's,
call them.
but yeah, like you ever heard the story about the midget psychic who went missing?
Pardon?
There's a small medium at large.
Oh my.
You stared at me with such confusion until I said that.
So-
You rolled your eyes so hard.
I saw, no offense to you, Bert, but I watched a very funny video on this person, like, quote unquote debunking
Yeah,
a psychic.
There's a science behind
There
it.
is this lady.
Statistics.
There is this lady who claimed to be like specifically like a missing child psychic.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah. So apparently, like grieving parents of like missing children would go to her, and she'd be like, "Yeah, your kid is still alive," or "No,
Yeah.
your kid is dead." And be like, "Oh, this is how she's feeling. This is that." And this interviewer had a conversation with her, and she showed her a picture of a little girl, and she's all like, "This is a picture of a little girl of a case you worked on before. Can you tell me anything about it?" And she said like, "Oh yeah, I remember her. So she is still alive, but she's in a lot of pain, and like she's like not in this state, but she's still in the country, and like she
God.
just wants to see her parents, and like she's in a lot of pain
Yeah,
right
that's
now,
just being
but she's still
cheap,
alive."
That's
But
not
then
even. That's
here's
even
the-
like
That's
here's
really
the
lying.
kicker though. The reporter then went like, "Oh, this is my childhood picture."
That's.
it was himself.
Yeah, it was the report. It was a picture of the reporter as a little girl.
Like, there's a lot of
Fucking
like
bitch.
dishonesty in it, but for
Yeah.
me, like where like I say statistics because it truly is. It's a lot of thinking and
Yeah.
weighing out the odds of something happening that you think might happen. And
Okay, but at the
so-
same time, if you use statistics, it's all guesswork and
yeah, it's guesswork.
bullshit.
Like, that's you're
You know,
But, like,
you're
sifting
but
through
in
what you
bullshitting your way through the most likely scenarios
That's-
until you finally strike a nerve, and then you feed off that.
But for
So
the
it's
sake
all-
of
That's the way of
argument,
that's what I'm
prying.
saying. That's
That's
bullshit.
prying.
Jacob, for the sake of argument though, wouldn't it just be easy to say that someone who has a lot of intuition or someone who is intelligent, a way to connect those dots, can also be just considered a psychic? Like, can't just be intuitive and psychic be synonymous?
I'm not intuitive to somebody else's life because the idea behind time is it's forever moving and forever changing. So, and bringing it back to our talk about thoughts, like, thoughts are really powerful. So, you just change your mind. So, for me, I use it in my own day-to-day life. Like, it just helps me cope with it a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
In the sense of I just see what I think I know about what's going on around me, and it helps me feel a lot more secure instead of feeling like so small in such a big world.
Yeah,
I guess.
That's true.
And,
I guess so.
And at the same time, like, whatever helps you get through stuff without needing to hurt other people.
That's what I mean.
Like, you don't, like, there's no need to, like, prove or disprove someone's beliefs.
That's where my motto is. Like, for me, it's like, fuck yeah, I think I'm psychic.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I think I'm a gypsy. But
that's the thing, though.
And it just makes you all the more interesting, man.
It's true, actually. I value your opinion, because your opinion is very out there. I'm not going to say out there like a fucking, oh, he's crazy. I mean, like, you have a very different way of looking at things about me. Like, your way of looking at things is, like, very contrasted to mine. Like, I'm very similar to you, but, like, I like to think I'm a logical thinker.
Yeah.
Like, in a way, it's like the math doesn't add up, or the science isn't there. But at the same time, I'm like, I go with the flow. Like, I move left, right, and center. Like, I personally moved on my own fucking 4 or 5 times in the last 2 years. Like, I've continued almost on, like, a gypsy-esque lifestyle. And, like, when I see hobo, and, like, so when I go downtown, because I used to go to club a lot, I used to be a little fucking club rat. And, like, if I saw a homeless person, I would talk to them. And I would literally go, I'd give them some money, and then I would ask them, like, it's like, what brought you to this point in life? Like, I would almost learn from their experiences. Like,
it can get really interesting. When I was in grade 11, I had 0 community hours, and you need, like, I think at the time it was like 40. You need 40 community hours to graduate high school, right? And I went on what was called the Tools Trip. So I'm from Timmins, and what the Tools Trip is, we went on...
They just took a bunch of kids that they consider fucking tools.
No, they took a small group of us, and we went from Timmins, and we went to Toronto for 3 days. And the entire time we were in Toronto, it was just to learn about homelessness and meet homeless people.
I got heavy.
And we had, like, a really dope, like, tour guide. Like, for one of the days, he was like, by the way, you guys aren't allowed to have lunch unless you're treating a homeless person to lunch. Cool. And then he'd be like, guys, you're not gonna, like...
Well, that's kind of hard, Kate. Imagine your family was poor. Like, you only barely could afford it. Like, this is a reality for, like, when I was doing a lot of trips when I was in elementary school and high school. It's like, I literally, to the point where, like, my mom would call the school and ask if they could, like, what do they call that? Subsidize the trip for me. Because, like, there's 5 children and a single mother.
Yeah.
So it was, like, a lot, like, hockey tournaments. I missed hockey tournaments because we couldn't afford it. But there's trips like that where it's like, oh, you can only eat, or you blah blah blah, and we got to, like, do this.
But we're there to learn about. We're still there to learn about the homelessness, right? Like, if you don't eat, then it gives you a greater appreciation. And, like, he did other things too, like.
If I don't have enough food for my son, I don't eat. He eats.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he always has enough food for himself.
Let's clarify.
But, like,
clearly,
let's say,
for
example, like,
if you were in a situation where it was you or Atlas,
he'd fully eat. Like, that's part of being a parent and stuff like that. And, so
and you'd eat all those gross scraps that fall out of his little 2-year-old mouth.
I would.
I live across the hall. Come over. I'll feed you, Bert. Like, fuck.
No, it's good. It was the car that sunk me. I'm settling down here in this stupid apartment.
Yeah. But yeah, no, just the trip in itself, because, like,
stupid apartments.
We, like,
fucking stupid addresses.
Like, I heard some, like, really sad stories talking. Like, I talked to, like, a good handful of different homeless people during that trip, and, like, our tour guide did tell us that, like, they might be bullshitting you to get some sympathy factor, but, like, there's just a couple of stories there that, like, you can see it in their face that, like, they've been through some horrible things. Like, I met this one homeless guy, and, like, it was one of those, like, out of nowhere. Like, he became homeless in, like, a matter of, like, 3 days. Like,
that's the thing, though, is that even if that does happen, there is so many different venues to get. I don't know about the States, I don't know about other countries, but Canada, there are homeless shelters, there are fucking job agencies. Like, there's so many options to get you out. I know that there are some people who just can't figure it out.
Here's
but
the
at the same
thing.
time, but it's like, if you're stuck in that, there are venues and options and roads to take to get out of it.
I made a
and
point.
the amount of people that I've talked to that like go on this, and then I ask a little bit of like I pry a little bit, like the hobo that I talk to,
Yeah.
and I find out through just easy conversation, they just choose not to. They choose not to, or it's because of addiction, or is a big thing. A big thing is alcoholism or drug addiction, or it's like this very basic things. Like I met so many.
But on top of that, and like I made a point similar to that when we were on the trip, and our tour guide made a really good point of what's one of the very first things they ask for when you write a job application. What's your address?
True.
Like,
well, that's the thing is, even if you have no family and you live in a shelter, your shelter is now your address. That's fine. They just need an address for
they don't
books.
do that in Canada. They do have programs like that, I believe, in Australia, and it's been helping them out a lot.
No, there's fucking homeless. I promise you, because I volunteered at these shelters.
I don't know. I was under the impression that that's not a thing in Canada.
Because
you can have a temporary address in Canada.
No, I promise you, those people are lying to you. You can use homeless shelters on your resume because it's shelter. That's what they're for. They're there to help you rehabilitate and get back on your feet. Before I graduated high school, I had roughly 1,500 hours of community service because I went to church 3 times a week.
Uh-huh.
Half of the time I was going to church, I was volunteering for shit, and that's for like 20 years of my life. Like, I spent a shit ton of time volunteering, and like even in the last years of high school, there's 4 years of high school that I was a counselor for a camp 3 times in a summer, and it was 80 hours each week.
Yeah.
So that's 80 times 3 times 4. So like, it was a huge number of my hours all came in high school. But at the same time, like I served at soup kitchens, I've served at homeless shelters, I've done the summer camps, I've done all these sports camps, I've done all these other volunteering shit. But like from the soup kitchens and the homeless shelters, it's like they are very much like they're like we can provide you with like an address to go get a job. They give you help writing your resume. They give you help like properly wording resumes to like your work experience, this and that. Like they will do literally everything in their position, like even to the point where they will speak on your behalf to get you a job at like a minimum wage, like McDonald's.
Yeah.
They will do all the work. All you have to do is talk to them, tell them your life story. Yeah. And they'll get it. It's the people who choose not to, they don't want to, it's easier to panhandle. It's that. Like I have so much sympathy until I realized all this. I had like a decent amount of life experience. Like I'm saying, 2,500 hours, or 1,500, 2,500. I can't remember. Oh, well over 1,000 hours of community service in a very short amount of time.
I'll give that to you. Like
a lot of people are like just scummy.
There is a fraction of the homeless people that is very much the case, but like
not a fraction. It's a solid amount.
Yeah.
In my experience. Personally,
yeah, there is a percentage, of course, that is 100% like accurate, but like there are a lot of them as well that like they're just in like, call it luck, like.
Yeah. Also, mental illness is a huge thing too.
Yeah, that is also a huge factor.
That's a very, very big thing. Like I remember, I would say 80 when I was at a soup kitchen. I think we did it for, about 2 weeks. I think I did it for like 3 or 4 years, and I would say 80% of the people that came through had like schizophrenia. They had bipolar disorders, like that were just so extreme. Like if someone snapped on them, they would snap back violently, like shit like that. It's like they couldn't hold down a job. It was bipolar, schizophrenia, like it was all these fucking insane, like very extreme issues that they had mentally that they couldn't cope with, and they also didn't have money to go to therapy. You know what I mean? Like there's some people who couldn't do it, but there's like a lot of them very, very easily could get
I'll never say that's untrue. There are a healthy amount of people that just choose to be in the situation they're in through one way or the other. I don't know. What do you think, Bert? Just gonna process it a little bit.
Well,
you alright, Bert? I'm
different than everybody else. Like,
well, yeah, because you don't, because like maybe
I've
like the
been homeless before,
yeah.
So it's like for me it was just cold and wet, and you're hungry all the time. You don't think about much else. But I was able to get myself out of it through help of reaching out through the programs.
That's what I'm saying. It's in unwillingness to seek help.
So even give you help is there. You can go through through housing, and you can get a nice place, and you can stay, and you can get your own address, and you can pull yourself out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of help out there, and I thankfully used it, and it's what's helped me get to be back on my feet.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm indifferent. But I mean, I'm indifferent on a lot of things. So you can't always ask me that on certain questions, because like some things I just actually have nothing to say about because I don't have an opinion for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about or mention there, Bert?
I think.
No, I'm
Nothing.
good.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to start wrapping things up then. So yeah, that was episode 3 of Pastime Thinker podcast. Thank you, Bert, for joining us.
Thanks, buddy. Love you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're always a very pleasant person to talk to. You're a very
I think we
interesting
should
person
leak
to
the
talk to.
lost episode.
Yeah, we definitely
Fucking
I gotta see if I can clean up the audio.
You guys don't know me the way
Yeah,
that
'cause
they
there's-
know
that
me.
first
That was
recording
bomb. You gotta
was
listen to
like fuck Joe Rogan.
No, fuck off.
That was good. I love Joe Rogan's podcast, but like that was very
Yeah,
good
we had
episode.
we talked about a lot of different things the second time through, but the first time we covered an interview with you, we talked about some interesting things.
Yeah, I think you should post it first and then post it
No, we
later.
can't.
We
I
can't
honestly
post
can't.
it.
I have to do a lot of research and see if I can fix it
You
because
can
I'm pretty
fix
sure that
anything
audio
in
was
my
just
life.
lost.
If you think it, you can do it.
All right, so thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of Pastime Thinker. You can find us on SoundCloud, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all at Pastime Thinker Podcast. And one more note before we end it. If you're interested in our voices, if you like hearing Jacob and I talk and you're kind of a weeb, Jacob and I are starting a second podcast called Baka Boys, where we're going to dive... No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we're starting a second podcast called Baka Boys, where Jacob and I dive into really, I don't want to use the word extreme, but shocking manga that we haven't really read before, and just reacting to it.
I've never read a manga in my life, but I'm very into anime, so this is gonna be
Yeah,
interesting.
we'll talk about it more. So hopefully by the time this episode comes out, we'll have the first episode of that out. And yeah, thank you for listening. Pastime Thinker is created by Frederick Piquet, hosted by Frederick Piquet, and edited by Jacob Quinlan.